So this video is about Espiritismo within the Afro-Cuban traditions. Okay, it's a tough thing for me to talk about because it has a lot of elements, right? It obviously has a Christian root, yet it's present in every Afro-Cuban religious experience. It's there. You can't claim purity, but then you can't get rid of it because then you're just as much an inventor. So, so I'm not going to neither co-sign yay or nay the Spiritismo because it is what it is. What I do want to do is sort of a background as to what it is and how it came to be a part of the Afro-Cuban religious traditions. Okay, so obviously the form of Spiritism being practiced in Cuba and by the practitioners of Afro-Cuban Lukumi Santeria is the Kardec, Allan Kardec. I forget his real name, but he was a French mathematician, also scientific spiritist. He used a scientific approach to Spiritism, and through revelations, through the spirits, he came with his own teachings in the mid 1800s. Okay, by the time they got published and translated and reached the West, the Caribbean, it was already the late 1800s. It's not like he wrote it and somebody emailed it to Cuba right away. It took time, and and eventually took root. And one interesting thing about Spiritism taking root in the Caribbean is that it was actually most popular with the white middle class. Okay, if you ever see some movies that show seances and stuff like that, well, seances, in the English version, is essentially the same tradition. Okay, and there was something, they say that even Abraham Lincoln had seances in the White House. Not because of him, but his wife liked to do them. This was something the white middle class, that's what they did. This was part of a tradition, and it eventually spread to other groups, but that's where it really started. One, you had to be able to afford the books, so that you can learn the teachings. Okay, and B, you had to be in the circles where other people like you were practicing. Also, you had to be literate. In the 1800s, being literate was not a given. Education was not necessarily for absolutely everybody, and so you could have wanted to be a spiritist, but without being able to read Kardec's teachings or his approach. So, without any hesitation, I can really say to you that Spiritism, Kardecian Spiritism, begins to enter the Afro-Caribbean traditions, actually through the middle class white people, okay? Not through Africans. Not through Africans or their descendants. Once they started including, whites in the rituals, or, once they allowed black people to participate in the Kardecian masses and reunions, then that's when the exchange started. However, if you look at Afro-Caribbean Spiritism, if you're watching this video this far in, you already know what I'm talking about. And you actually read Kardec's work, and I actually know a lot of Spiritistas that actually never bothered reading the entirety of his teachings. Not that I have, but I've read enough to know that what we practice is not what's in his books. Okay? It's not. It's not. Alright, so Kardec's teachings didn't have a white table with glasses of water, 7 or 9 glasses of water, with crucifixes, flowers, cigars, candles. None of that is part of Kardec's teachings. Kardec didn't have La Comisión Conga. Kardec didn't have the Comisión Arabic. Didn't have the Gypsy Commission. Didn't have any of that. Doesn't have any of that. Um, so every place where spiritism goes, and amongst certain parts of the population, it begins to absorb the cultures that are already there. And in many ways, the Afro-Cuban, or the Cuban Espiritismo that you may be familiar with, is actually probably as influenced by Congo as it is by Kardec and Christianity. Okay, Allan Kardec would not recognize our spiritism, and in its nature, it's probably more Congo. And I'm saying Congo, and I'm not saying Palo on purpose, right? Palo is the initiatic traditions of the Congo, Angola, but there was also a wider belief in spirits amongst the Congolese ethnic groups, which were many, by the way. So Palo and getting scratched in Palo was not the be all and end all of Congolese spiritual thought. There was a belief in spirits, this, that, and the other. So is Spiritismo the true descendant of the wider Congo religion? No. But it does reflect it quite a bit. And its attitude towards spirits and contacting spirits and having communion with the ancestors, there's a lot of it in there. But there is a heck of a lot also of Kardec's, Christian and a scientific spiritual approach to it. Also, you have your European teachings, your European magic. You have to also remember that in Cuba, you had a lot of people who were originally from Spain or were the children of people from Spain, and they had their folk traditions that they brought with them. La Comisión Gitana. No reason why you would see a gypsy in 19th century Cuba. I mean, there might have been a few, but probably not a lot. So these traditions came over in the minds and the practices of the people, and they added their own folk traditions. So Espiritismo has a lot of avenues with it. So and once you know this, right, you see now in our online culture, and you see a lot of revisionists wanting to be the most pure. And so, oh, well, I'm not going to do any Spiritismo because that's an invento and that's not part of Congo or that's not part of Ocha. But if you really think about its origins, to some extent, especially in Palo, not doing it, it'd probably be less traditional, okay, than doing it. Precisely because the Congo and the wider Congo beliefs had such an influence on it.